Do you know closing costs can cost you up to $25,000 or more depending on the cost of your house? Well, stay tuned because in this episode, we're going to talk about how you can calculate your closing costs and figure out how much money you're going to walk away with when you sell your house. Stay tuned. Okay, the first thing you need to know is that closing costs are not uniform. They vary by legal fees and legal requirements. So closing costs for sellers here in Florida are going to be different from Florida's in California, New York, and Ohio. They even vary inside Florida. So closing costs for someone in Tampa are going to be different from someone in Miami or Sarasota. Closing costs vary in the fact that it depends on how much you still owe on your house, taxes, all of that goes into calculating your final closing costs. Okay, if you've ever wondered what is included in closing costs, I put together a quick list right here of what you're gonna see in your net sheet on closing costs. So at the top, we have mortgage loan payoff, the amount that's still due on your house. And then we have unpaid HOA, condominium fees, dues, things like that, leading up to closing date. And then we have unpaid utility bills, documentary stamp taxes, municipal lien search. So starting from over here, the ones that you see with a red star are somewhat optional, that you have the option to kind of sit down with your real estate agent and decide which ones you want to pay for and which ones you don't. In some places though, it is a requirement for sellers to pay them, so just keep that in mind. Next after that, we have the title search, homeowner's warranty. Homeowner's warranty is for your buyers, but sometimes I advise sellers to put that in there just to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit for the buyer when negotiating on the house. The next one is buyer's closing costs. Again, it's not required, but it just sweetens the deal a little bit, especially if first-time home buyers or someone who doesn't have quite enough money to put down for closing costs, but they want your house. If you want to kind of help them out and get the ball rolling, then a lot of sellers pay for buyer closing costs. Next, we have the buyer's agent commission. I don't know if you remember, but when you bought your house, you didn't have to pay your real estate agent because the seller is the one that pays the real estate agent, yours and theirs. It's included in that commission that you might see. I don't know if you sat down with the real estate agent yet, but the total commission percentage is split between your agent and the buyer's agent. So here you'll see the buyer's agent commission and then the seller's agent commission. And then we have prorated property taxes, which I'll get a little bit into that so you kind of understand how that works. So another thing that plays a critical role on your closing cost statement and your seller's net sheet is your prorated taxes. So that's usually something that they calculate the day of closing, but you can always try to do some guesswork if you already have an offer on your house and you know when the closing date is. Let's say that you have your taxes are usually $785 a year and they're due on January 1st. So if you go 785 divided by 12, that's when you get the 6542 per month. So then what you want to do is you want to go 6542 times, let's say 5 or however many months or month. So let's say 5 full months, so that you get $327.10. So that's January 1st to your closing date of May 31st. So that's kind of how you would figure out how much you have to pay on taxes and to go into your closing statement to further see how much is going to be taken out for your closing costs. So closing costs are actually deducted from the profits that you make from selling your house. So you never have to fork over any cash. The only exception is if you owe more money than what you're selling it for. That's the only time you'll ever have to pay extra in closing costs. So kind of closing it up, I wanted to discuss the seller's net sheet. I spoke about it a little bit when we were discussing prorated taxes. Basically, a seller's net sheet is where you're going to see how much money you're taking to the bank. It's going to have your closing costs on there and your list price of how much you would have sold your home for, and then at the very bottom or at the very end, you're gonna see how much in profit you're taking home. So usually with the seller's net sheet, if you hire a real estate agent, you get one in the beginning, and when you get an offer, it constantly changes. If you decide to pay for a home warranty, all of that is kind of included in there, so you see step by step how much your bottom line is and how much you're taking away. Also, you see the seller sheet at the closing table, so it's going to be something that you see the day of closing, and your prorated taxes are going to be there, any dues that are also prorated and counted up to that day. First-time home sellers are usually not aware of all the expenses that go into selling your house, so it really helps so that you don't think that you're going to get that full asking price and that's what you're going to take to the bank with you, because it's not. There are a lot of expenses that get deducted from that, so seeing this will also help you come up with the right price for your home. With the net sheet, knowing your closing costs, how to calculate them. There are a lot of closing costs calculators on Google. You just have to search, or I can leave a link to the one that I recommend below, and just by doing that, you can better prepare yourself to sell your house with a lot less hassle and knowing what you're going in for. So, thank you for sticking around for this video. Definitely leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos, tips and tricks, what you should know when selling your house.